Welcome back to another episode of Boots, Balls and Bras. With a crazy weekend of WSL football, myself, Fara Williams, and the superb Anita Asante, who joins me with a croaky voice. I guess that's from celebrating the Chelsea win. We'll get into that a little bit, but potentially, guys, you're going to have to hear a little bit more from me than Anita, but she will do her best given the fact her throat is so sore. But Nate, other than, being at the Chelsea Arsenal derby, anything else you've been up to this week?
Well, I was actually doing the Chelsea podcast prior to the game, and I think that's why I've probably lost my voice.
Having to shout, right?
Yeah, exactly. Shouting about all the supporters in there. But yeah, no, it was cool. I got to catch up with some old friends. Tobin Heath was at the game as well. So a lot of reminiscing. But yeah, great weekend. And you obviously were working, so you were a busy bee.
Yeah, I was super busy all weekend. Can't complain, but yeah, super busy, super tired, and I've got the dodgiest eyes. You've got a croaky voice, and I've got like I don't know, like an infection. I don't know if it's from makeup. I don't know if it's because I'm ill. Who knows? But my eyes are looking dodgy and very sore. But yeah, I'll get through looking this rough, and you can get through sounding rough.
Battle on. I've got my lemon and honey ready to go.
Good girl. Let's start, Nate, at Chelsea Arsenal. Obviously, the London derby, it was hyped up. It definitely lived up to, in my opinion, the expectation that we all thought. 34,000, the biggest crowd at Stamford Bridge. So in terms of kind of getting people and bums on seats, they certainly did that, which was great because we normally see at only the Emirates. I think Emirates and Arsenal do very well in terms of their ticket sales, but Chelsea on this occasion did really well. But the game itself, I mean, we were both there. What was your take on the game?
I thought it was a good game. I thought, it was a competitive, had a bit of spice, was intense. I thought Chelsea started well. The first 10 minutes or so, they got box entries, they put some pressure on, got some chances. And at times, of course, it was a little bit cagey because both teams know what's at stake, but I think it was going to take some individual brilliance or, an individual moment to sort of unlock the game. I don't think the weather conditions helped. You were still in it. It was windy, it was rainy, it was sideways. So that added a little bit, I think, to the elements of the game. But in general, it was had the drama, didn't it? Had the jeopardy, had all of that. So that's what you want on a derby.
It definitely did. No, I would agree. I think the weather conditions were horrible. I mean, I look freezing. I had 4 layers on plus a coat, so I was like, maybe I need 6 layers next time when the weather's like that. But I agree. I think it certainly, in my opinion, lived up to the expectation. I was hoping for a highly competitive game. I felt like we got that. I thought Chelsea started fast, as you mentioned there. I thought they were out the blocks, pressing, trying to get on the front foot, trying to create chances, unsettle Arsenal a little bit. And I felt like they did that in that opening, 15, 20 minutes. But there was a moment, and I said it on Sunday, where Arsenal had a throw-in and Chelsea were pressing, and they played through the press and got a chance from it. And I feel like that was the turning point for Arsenal in the game, because I felt after that, they took a little bit of control of the game. They set Chelsea's a few traps when they were playing out from Hannah Hampton to Millie Bright, and they was trying to lock that in and trap them down that side. And it came off a couple of times. We saw, the error from Erin Cuthbert and Russo getting in and getting a chance. And I just felt like, though, as much as Arsenal, when they had their momentum and a little bit of control of the game, they just never really looked convincing. And for all of the talk we've had about them, being confident coming into the game with that momentum and scoring goals and free flowing, they just looked a little bit more shaky in the box than Chelsea did. And I felt like, even when Arsenal were in control, Chelsea were comfortable. They didn't mind suffering without the ball. They were waiting for a moment. And look, we've got to talk about that moment because it was a big decision and a big turning point in the game. It was a penalty shout. Lauren James gets herself into the box. I felt Caldenti, I don't know if you agree, but the defending initially from Caldenti wasn't the best. Allows Lauren James to get herself and the ball into the box. And then we see a lunge tackle from Kim Little. She's adamant she made contact with the ball. I think in live play, and I guess I think live play, the decision from the referee
Yeah.
was a good shout. She gave a penalty. I don't know what your thoughts and feelings were on that. I mean, I've had daggers from Arsenal fans saying I'm biased Chelsea fan, but I actually think live and when the referee's playing the game, you would give a penalty for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Caldente could have definitely done more to try to deflect Lauren James from the box, which forces Kim Little to have to make a last minute challenge because now she
Mm,
recognises there's danger, especially Lauren James and her quality. She's in the box now. It's a goal scoring opportunity. Two things in this situation. The minute you go to ground, you've got to be
yep.
1000% sure you're going to time the
Mm,
challenge well and execute it and not give the referee, to some regard, an easy decision to
yeah.
make. And secondly, I think in live play, it looks like there is contact, and that
Yeah.
she's brought down, she goes down, she's clipped her foot. But of course, when you slow it down, second by second, you can see those subtle touches. I think she might have got a toe to the ball ever so slightly where she makes contact with the ball, but she still catches Lauren as well in the same instance and in the follow through. And I think ultimately it's not enough to suggest it wasn't a penalty.
Yeah.
For me, it was pretty clear. And I think if we're going to give referees the benefit of the doubt in those situations with live play, the speed of it, and with not very obvious and clear contact on the
Mm,
ball, where the ball is, really changing direction, then it's a penalty all day long, and it's an unfortunate way for Arsenal, for the way that they
yeah.
played in the game, for how well they played at times, to concede a chance like that.
No, definitely. And you know what, Neats? I think the frustrating thing is that they were very much on top in that spell where
Yeah,
Chelsea, did get the breakaway and get the penalty. But I would agree with you. I think, live and in full time, for me, it's a penalty. I think, if we slow it down and try and get every angle and every fraction of it to try and see, does Kim get a slight touch on the ball? I still don't think, and I know we've seen Renee Slagers after the game saying that the women's game needs VAR. I still don't think with VAR they would have overturned that because it's not a clear and obvious mistake from the referee in order for them to overturn it. So I still think the decision would have been penalty,
uh,
given the amount of angles you need to get. You need microscope on it to see does she get a touch. She obviously follows through, which is probably what the referee has seen more so. I thought the referee was in a good position to give the penalty. But mate, we have to talk about. Obviously, the penalty was given. There was lots of stuff going on, and we'll touch on that in a minute. But the composure from Guro Reiten. She'd only been on the pitch maybe 5 minutes, I think, if that. Obviously, had been put on a bench after we've said had a great season so far for Chelsea. Manager Sonia Bompastor says it was rotation and we have a big squad, and that she took it really well, and it's about the team. But to come on into a game and at a high pressure game, 0-0, there's a penalty and there's probably a 5 minute delay, and to execute the penalty the way that she did, it just shows the quality of Guru Reiten, doesn't
Viking mentality. That's what it is.
it? Love that.
She's just taken the mantle that Mary Mjelde left. Mary
Yeah,
Mjelde, her Norwegian teammate, was that player that always used to step up to penalties, cool, calm, and collected. And Guru was the same. She is an
yeah.
experienced player for this Chelsea team now. She stepped up, and honestly, I had no doubt in my mind that she was going to
Yeah.
score just because the way she is. She's just so assured in herself, and it was perfectly executed. And, it just shows the substitutions like Guru, like Lauren James, the impact they had when they came into the
Mm.
game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was so well executed, and as you say, cool as a cucumber there. And you saw what it meant to not just her, but the players themselves. Because at the time of that goal, in the win, it did move them, 9 points clear of Manchester City and 10 points clear of Arsenal. But obviously, we'll talk about Man United because they've closed the gap to 7 with the later kickoff that they had against Brighton. But Neat, in between all of the decisions of the penalty and whatever else, we can't not talk about it. There was, of course, emotions were high. It was if Arsenal would have won that game, they moved themselves within 7 points. They lose, they obviously move 10 points adrift of Chelsea, which is not what they wanted. As I said, emotions got a little bit high. We know that Katie McCabe had something to say about that, and we saw on that we see clearly on the camera. I think you've looked at all the replays of the camera. She clearly is irate, not happy with the decision, and has
Yeah.
said something to the referee, and that's fine, okay? Because I think if I was in that, and I know me as a player, I would have been furious with it. And look, when the dust settles, you might be able to accept it, but in moment, I would have been absolutely fuming. And she showed that, she
Yeah.
demonstrated that, and the
Yeah.
referee showed her a yellow card. She then turns to the referee and something is said. I think the only one that can hear it clear and obviously is the referee. And I don't know if you saw Erin Cuthbert's reaction to whatever Katie McCabe said,
Yeah.
because she was, she's screaming at the ref as if to say, "Come on, you got to do something about that." And I think Katie McCabe herself knew, shit, I'm in trouble here, because as soon as she said something, she walked away and turned her back and didn't look back at the referee. And then obviously the referee upgraded the yellow card to red. I mean, look, I'm Katie McCabe's mate. I did not want to see her get sent off in a game. I understand her frustration. I'm curious to know what she said. So if anyone knows, Erin Cuthbert, I've been trying to get into you. If you know what she said, let us know. But no, I mean, a silly, emotional reaction from Katie McCabe. And now obviously she misses the Manchester City game next weekend. I mean, what did you make of it? How important is that miss going to be come the weekend when they got Manchester City?
I mean, from the reports I've seen online, the internet does not lie. Apparently, or does it?
Or does it?
Apparently, she dropped an F bomb to the referee, to her face. So,
Oh, okay.
supposedly, and
Yeah.
any form of dissent, whatever it is, you're going to get cautioned, and
Mm.
that's just what it is. I understood her frustrations, and if you're an Arsenal player in that situation and
Oh,
you are
100%.
sure in your mind that that's not a penalty, then of course you're going to react that way. But you could see from Erin's reaction, she was getting in her eye line. She was like, I'm wanting to see what's the referee going to do here. I'm going to
Mm.
make sure the referee knows exactly what we've all heard.
Yeah.
And I think I am a big fan of Katie McCabe as a
Yeah.
player, but this is the one area I think she needs to start managing better
Mm.
as a player, because I just think these everything has a consequence, and she's too good a player for a team like this to miss the next game against City, which
Yeah.
is another
I agree.
important game, which it still allows them to contend and put themselves in contention in terms of the title race. But now you're missing someone. So now for Renee
Mm.
Sneggers, that changes her options. That might change her, tactically or style in possession out possession game. And it's not what you want to have to be doing at this point in the season with a big and a critical game
Yeah.
coming up. So no doubt she'll feel disappointed.
Mm.
Her teammates will feel disappointed. But I definitely think it's something that she needs to work on going forward, because games
Mm.
like that are always going to come. Big
Yeah.
decisions and fine margins like that are always going to come because she's a big player for a big team playing in big
Mm.
competitions.
Yeah. It's so difficult though, isn't it? Because I actually love that part of Katie McCabe's game in terms of that character and that personality. I love that within players, and she's so different. She knows how to rub people up the wrong way and get into their head and kind of play the mental side of the game, which I love. But I do think you're right. There's times where she maybe just needs to compose herself a little bit, i.e.
Mm.
Sunday's game against Chelsea. Take the yellow card, calm yourself down and go again. Because who's to say that Guro was going to score that penalty? And they might have
Yeah,
had a chance, or certainly a better chance, with 11 players as opposed to 10. And obviously, you talk about the Man City game, which we'll touch on. They're going into the Man City game having no left side in terms of what they started with. So, Caitlin Ford got injured, and it was probably a
yeah,
little bit of a risk to play her. She was cleared to play by the physios, so medically was cleared to play. And for me as a manager or coach, you would start your best 11, and Caitlin
yeah,
Ford, certainly the form, she would be in that. But she came off before the half, so she's now out. Katie McCabe, the left back. So now their left side, that in recent weeks have shown such consistency and really good form, they're now losing. So yeah, it's a big disappointment. But I know Kate, and as a character, she will be massively disappointed with her behaviour and reaction, and letting her emotions get the better of her. But yeah, we move on, and we will touch on what impact that might have in a couple of weeks at the weekend against Manchester City, because Manchester City bounced back from that defeat at the Etihad to Manchester United. They did go a goal behind against
Yeah.
Villa, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, not another weekend. But they bounced back, and Vivianne Miedema in particular. I mean, she got the first two goals to get them back into the game, make it 2-1. What did you make of her performance? And did
I
you hear her comments, Neat? Did you hear her comments at the end?
Yeah,
She
but I
made
wanted
when they
to.
did an interview. Yeah,
Yeah, I
wanted to
did.
repay the kind of
I want to repay Man City for believing in me, wanting me here.
mm,
What do we say about Vivian Miedema? Superstar,
yeah,
right? She knows how to turn it on and go up a gear at another level, and she showed all of her class, all of her
mm,
finesse, and her finishing was top notch. And you can feel that she's just hungry. She was sharp. She wanted to get on the ball. She wanted to make things happen. You can see her telling her teammates, where I want
mm,
the ball, and I just thought it's just firstly just so nice to see her enjoying her football
yeah,
after
facts.
all the challenges she's had, setbacks she's had with injuries, a big injury obviously with the ACL. To be back in a team where Bunny Shaw has been the main number 9,
Mm,
scoring all their goals, a massive sort of player for them. For her to just step in there seamlessly and display the performance she did was just like wow. It was just wow.
yeah. Mm. I did. I agree. I felt like it was like, yeah, we're starting to see that sharpness and a little bit of snap about her that, over the years has been so obvious in her play. But I mean, look, for Aston Villa, you cannot gift a player of that quality an opportunity like Dan Turner did, and square pass it, across the box, because she will punish you. She's certainly a player that will be like, thank you very much, and will punish you, and she did. But we have to talk about her second goal, Needs. I mean, unbelievable. The way that she's that type of player that you give them half a yard in that sort of area, and we've seen it year on year for Arsenal. She's taking not just a keeper through the thing, but she'll take the ball through the roof of the net. And her goal, the way she bent it into the top corner, was unbelievable. I mean, she opened up and got that bend, and she said she had one look and she knew as soon as it left her foot, it was going in. I mean, it'll be up for goal of the month, potentially goal of
Oh,
the season, because it was a
definitely.
fantastic strike. But it poses the question, Needs, and it's what I thought when I watched their performance against Villa. When City signed her, they were playing her because obviously Jill Rod was returning from injury, and they played her in those two what we're going to call them number 10 positions, or 8 and 10 that City like to play. They have a
Yeah,
pivot, don't they, and then they have two in front. And they started her in that, and I was like, I'm not quite sure, how Viv, sits in this kind of team in the style that Manchester City play. And she played as a false 9, and she has played that in the last few games. She played it in not preseason, the Christmas break. They had a
yeah,
friendly. She played that position, scored. Obviously, she played it in the cup and against United. I actually prefer her in that position, but when she has runners beyond, so she has time to turn and face and then create. So coming from a high line and dropping into those positions, and I think in my opinion, she had her best season at Arsenal when she played that as a
yeah.
false 9, or a 9 as and when she wanted to. What will Manchester City do? Because we saw Bunny Shaw on the bench. We know Bunny Shaw's record in terms of goal return for Manchester City. How do you fit them both in and get both of their qualities out of them in the formation that Manchester City play?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I posed it to Gareth actually with all the signings coming in as well.
Mm,
How is everyone going to fit into the system? And I said, is it a headache for you? Is it a problem? He said,
mm,
no, not yet. I wish it would be because not everyone's back yet.
okay.
Right.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but I think the fact that they know they have the flexibility or the adaptability to utilize her in that role is a
Yeah.
massive coup for them and another evolution for Man City
Hmm.
because now they know they don't just have to rely on just Buddy in that number 9
Yeah.
role.
Hmm.
Um, I like Biedema more central. Like you say,
Yeah.
when she plays in a 2-10, she's normally the left side attacking midfielder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, the only way they could really do it, I guess, is if they drop down to like a double pivot, but like
Uh-huh.
a bit like Liverpool men. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a clear double pivot. It's like you still have your pivot in Hasegawa, and your
Mm,
number 8 that kind of sits off that a little bit
mm.
with her
But
as
then
10.
would that then mean that somebody like Jess Park would have to be sacrificed because you're going to need a more maybe disciplined, defense-minded potentially midfielder or box to box more so than Jess Park?
Yeah,
Does it
I
mean
think
somebody
you're
else
right.
being sacrificed?
Someone will be sacrificed because they
Yeah.
have a lot of good players.
Mm,
And that's what happens. Now they have a very competitive squad. So
yeah.
it's about those players week in, week out, training to um, put themselves in contention for a spot on the weekend. And Just
Yeah.
Park is no different to that. Nor is Miedema
Yeah.
or Rord. But it could come down to that ultimately.
Mm.
I mean, how else do you do it? It's only 11 players you can field.
No,
Right? Like,
you're right. You're right. And they, you know what, Anita, and they have a fantastic squad, right? But I also don't really feel they're that adaptable with that squad. So in terms of style, so you look at Chelsea and they have personnel that will change the dynamic of their style completely. So, for example, if you look at Baltimore at the weekend for Chelsea on that left hand side, I actually thought she had a fantastic game. Really enjoyed her high intensity on that left hand side. And then you replace her for a Lauren James, completely different style.
yeah.
Lauren isn't going 1v1 on the outside. Lauren isn't, she's more slowing the game down and playing at her own pace and, seeing opportunities. And do you know what I mean? So I don't see that with Manchester City. Even the formation would change at Chelsea. Like they would have two, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, pivots. They will have one pivot and two tens in a high press. They will go into a back three. But rarely do you see Manchester City coming out of that style of play that they have. And with all the players that they have and the signings that they've made, and we'll touch on the recent signing, big name signing, but how do they fit them into their style?
It feels like because if they're not going to adapt or change a little bit, then ultimately those players are the ones who are going to be forced to adapt,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
they're going to keep trying to shoehorn Miedema in that role and hope that it just keeps improving and the connections develop and she delivers the same kind of performances she does as a false nine. Because
Yeah.
how else? Otherwise, like how else do they do it? I think
Mm.
it's I think it would be useful for Man City to tweak and adapt a little bit because it means they're less predictable,
Yeah.
even for their quality. I think there's still a bit of a predictability about
Mm.
the way they play, which, in the modern game, they want to keep going further. They want to play in Champions League and progress. You need a bit of unpredictability sometimes,
Yeah.
I think.
Definitely. Definitely, I would agree. But we have to touch on the signing needs. You've probably got it in front of you. Um, do you think their new signing is it Caroline?
Caroline,
Yeah,
Caroline,
yeah, Caroline. Do
I
you
know
think that
Yama.
is? Do you think that's the door then open for Chloe Kelly to leave before tomorrow, Friday, whichever day it is this week? Because it's I'm not saying like for like, but it's another winger that they're bringing in. So do you think that is literally open the door up for Chloe Kelly to potentially leave this January?
Yeah,
Great
probably.
signing, firstly. It's a great signing. But
Oh,
yeah.
it's a fantastic signing, and a lot of teams in the NWSL wanted Caroline still.
Mm,
So,
mm,
you know, that's a statement to bring a player like that in. And
mm,
if you're Chloe Kelly, you're probably looking at that situation thinking, you know, either I'm here and I'm competing for a spot
mm.
again
Further down.
with
Further
two,
down the pecking
three,
order.
further down the pecking order. Um, you're going to be stressed about it. You're going to be thinking like,
Mm,
I need to think about my playing options and what I should do.
yeah.
So I definitely think it is. It is, but it's just whether or not her and the club can come to an agreement to
Mm.
releasing her in some way
Yeah,
or
and someone, what is it,
right?
wages or, yeah, she needs to leave. I think with that signing, I mean, that signing for me come out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting them to sign another winger, maybe because obviously we know Hemp's still returning from injury. Chloe Kelly's out of favour. They've got Fowler and and who's the other
Fujino.
winger? Regino, that's it. They've been playing Park out there occasionally, haven't they? And then the young kid, off the top of my head, I can't. Is it Murphy? Off
Lily
the top of my head, the
Murphy.
young kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lily Murphy. So they've got a lot of wingers. So I actually wasn't expecting that, and a part of me was like, look, are they going to make a statement? Signing in terms of the rumours around Chloe Kelly. Let's put a statement signing out now and go, look what we've got. Okay, you can talk as much as you want about Chloe Kelly, but I think if they let her go to Man United, the position United are in, I think United will finish ahead of Manchester City. And for
Yeah.
Chloe Kelly, she'd probably be rubbing her fingers, and then you got Arsenal and Manchester City fighting for third. Um, it could be a mistake, but I mean, who knows? And I'd love Chloe to get a move if she can, because I want to see her play football, because I'm selfish and I want England to do well, and I want England to have their best players available come the summer. Going into the tournament with form. So yeah, that's
Well,
one to look out for, I guess.
what happened to clubs not letting players go to the rival teams?
In it. God, maybe
Well,
they
what's
maybe they don't
happened?
see them as a competitive rival. We've seen it when Nikita Paris has done both clubs, hasn't she? Alex
Yeah.
Greenwood did both clubs, so maybe it's not quite there yet in the women's game, but who knows? Um, Brighton, Man United, Brighton. I think this is what 5 losses now on the bounce. Um, Man United, another clean sheet, quite a convincing win. I mean, we spoke about it. I mean, I didn't put Manchester City in a position they're in, and I've actually really enjoyed watching them play. But we could talk about, which we did last week, about how good Man United have been,
Yeah.
how versatile they've been. At times they play out, they can be direct. They've got Tooney back, looking sharp. But
Yeah.
I think we have to touch on Brighton. I don't know how much of the game you saw, Needs, but I have never seen a team so high risk as they
No.
are when playing out from the back. And you know what? It was nice in the early stages of the league, and they were getting away with it. I mean, I remember we'd been at a couple of games. We were like, "Whoa!" It only takes a fraction of a mistake, and you're going to be punished. And they got away with it, and they had a real bright start into the league. And now it's like they're getting punished for every single error they're making when playing out from the back, or in open play. What do you take on? What's your take on that?
What a slippery slope is that take, right? I enjoy the way Brighton as a club want to play.
Mm,
The style.
yeah.
It's attractive on the eyes when you get it right. But the more
Mm,
you make mistakes and you don't learn from them, there's got to be some question marks, right? And
yeah.
there's got to be some accountability and a sort of, you know, how many more times are we going to make the same errors and defend
Mm,
poorly those situations? And just seeing time and week in, week out at the moment, those same things. And I'm like, guys, enough,
yeah.
right? Just know when
Yeah.
it's high risk and send the ball down the pitch and release some pressure and get the opposition facing their own goal, running backwards and get numbers up. Sometimes it doesn't have to be play a short pass in your box to your keeper, a square ball
Mm,
that's just enticing this high press,
they are.
right?
And, and you know what? They should have looked at the game the previous week for Manchester United against City. That's
Exactly.
how they won the game, with a high press. So why would you risk? And Manchester City have been doing it for years, playing in the same style, right? And are very comfortable in playing that way. This is new to Brighton. So to see Manchester City get punished for the high press from Man United, why would you risk that?
Yeah.
A week later against the Brighton team that, in my opinion, aren't as competent as the Man City team.
No. And against players who actually, in their profile, are aggressive.
Mm,
Turland wants to go press and harass. Tooney will do it. Bize is doing it.
yeah,
Why would you not just adapt slightly? It's not to say you
yeah,
won't find moments to play out from the back, but you've also got to earn the right? Sometimes
yeah,
you play a longer, more direct game or expansive game so that you find space to play the way you actually want to play. But you
mm,
don't always have to do it from the off when you're under that
yeah,
kind of stress because you don't even settle in your body. Now everyone's
yeah,
tense thinking, it's like hot potato. I'm passing on the next problem instead of
yeah.
being the solution. And that's
It's
the
true.
thing I foresee for Brighton. If they don't sharpen that area up, going to be in like, big problems.
Yeah, big problem. They certainly have slipped down that slope, haven't they? And seen himself a little bit further down the table. But I mean, big wins at the weekend for West Ham. They beat Everton 2-0. Leicester was a shock of the weekend for me,
Massive.
beating Liverpool 2-1. Liverpool made some really good signings, but yeah, they threw everything at it in the second half, Liverpool. But I think the goal before the half for Leicester was the sucker punch for them. We also saw Tottenham, a late winner
Winner.
against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace did everything they could and got themselves back into the game at 2-2. But yeah, a really good. Is it Holt? Was it Holt? That's on her debut, wasn't it, for Tottenham?
Yeah,
If I'm
for
right,
sure. Yeah.
with the free kick in the final minutes. So yeah, really good goal there. But neat. Let's look forward to the Manchester City Arsenal game at the weekend. We did it for Chelsea Arsenal. Let's pick our 11 based off some of the players we put to us. You've got them in front of you, I believe.
Yeah. Got quick fire. So here we go. Kiara Keating or Van Domselaar?
I'm going to go Van Domselaar.
I'm going Van Domselaar too. Kasparai, Emily Fox.
Kasparai.
I'm going Emily Fox. Alexandre or Wibbenboy?
Alexandre.
I'm going to go Alexandre as well. Knack or Williamson?
Leah Williamson.
Williamson. Uhabi or McCabe?
Katie McCabe all day.
McCabe.
I mean, not available for the weekend, but Katie McCabe every other day.
So it's going to be Uhabi because she's not
Yeah,
available.
yeah.
Hasagawa, Caldente.
Well, they're different positions, but Hasagawa.
I'm going to go Hasagawa as well. Gilroyd or Little?
Oh, oh, this is a tough one.
Is
You
it
know what? I'm
easy,
going to go
easy for
Kim
me?
Little because Kim Little is just a big game player. I can't not have her in.
I'll go Little all day long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jess Park, Mornham.
Oh. You know what? I'm gonna go Jess Park.
I'm going to
Who are
go.
you picking?
This is a tough one, actually.
It is tough.
Mornham gets a lot of
They're so
goals
different.
as
Yeah,
well. Different players.
yeah. That's a tough one.
Ooh. It's quick fire. I'm going to go Mornham. Miedema, Ford.
Miedema.
Miedema. Shaw or Russo?
Oh, I love what you say. Sure, it has to be sure. Has to be
I go
sure. I
Shaw
mean,
as well. Fowler or Mead?
Beth Mead.
Beth Mead. Yep,
That
that's
was
all.
tough. That was
Yeah.
that was tough. That was a tough
Honestly,
one.
that was really
Yeah,
difficult. I was
yeah,
like,
that was
oof.
a tough call. The midfield is crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, look at Arsenal midfield and attack. This is crazy, right? I think, yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That was a tough one. We got some fans' questions, Neat.
Fans'
Any good ones in
questions.
there?
We do indeed. Got one from Jasmine in Bowden, who I know. It's one of my mates.
Okay.
It's actually Ramona Backman's, one of her best mates, has put in a
Oh,
question.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is.
If there was one game you could play all over again, which one would it be and why?
Oh, there's so many. Do you know what?
I feel it.
If I'm deadly honest, it would have to be Euro 2009 final
Yeah,
against Germany.
that's a good shout.
That was a horror show. I mean, look, we weren't even. I guess in terms of our path to there, we were probably a little bit lucky along the way. Um, but I just, like, I wish our England team then could play the German team now, having been professional for a few years behind us. You know what I mean? I mean, if our players had been full-time professional at that time,
Yeah,
or,
no,
or,
for
or the
sure.
league a little bit, then that game's completely different. So it was really difficult. I mean, they were well established, Germany, and we got absolutely tonked. They were by far the better team. But I do think when you look at the players we had in that team, Nate, if we were full time, like,
Oh,
I think
100%.
it's a different game.
I
I think it's a
agree.
different game.
I think that's a really good one, and I would have picked that game, the final, or the World Cup quarter final against France.
Oh,
We went out on penalties. So, like,
yeah.
between those two games, if we could have replayed that again with being professional for longer, playing in those environments,
Mm,
different ball game, right? Different ball
completely.
game.
Yeah. Good question. Like that one.
Great question. Next one. Dear Bal_Kelly. McCabe red card. Justified or harsh?
I mean, we don't know what's been said, but justified, because I think the initial yellow card was for the complaints around the penalty. That's what I'm assuming, because, you know, there's been plenty of times when a foul's been given and I've been at the referee too much and you get a yellow card to shut you up. So I think that's what's happened. She's been given a yellow card, go away. But I think her reaction, I think you can see even, you know, the way she, you know, moves her head towards the referee with whatever come out of the mouth. She's walked into a second yellow. So, yeah, I think justified. I mean, as I said, no one knows what's been said. It wasn't a straight red, it was a second yellow. So I think justified in terms of both of them being a yellow card.
I agree. I think we already knew going into the season, both in the men's and women's game, the referees were like zero tolerance for crowding the referee, for getting in their face, for dissent. So the players know the laws, especially how they're executing them this season. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. We used to get away with it once upon a time. You just can't do it.
I don't think I've ever been brave enough to say something directly to the ref. Maybe under my breath.
Definitely not me. Definitely not me. I just watch Ludlow and others do it. But, you know...
I was a moaner as well. I was somebody that would moan at the ref constantly, but I'm not sure I was brave enough to say something directly towards him to get myself sent off. But yeah, I've certainly got yellow cards for being a bit of a whinger.
It is justified. I think we talk about, you know, down the tiers and grassroots football. Like, we don't want young players behaving at times, not regulating their emotions, right? You've got to be able to... We know it's high stakes, it's an emotional game, but there's a cost, and there's a cost to the team and your teammates as well.
Yeah, that's true. But Neat, I think that pretty much rounds up our weekend. London's blue for this week anyway. I had to get that in for all the Arsenal fans that are hating on me and saying I'm a biased Chelsea fan. Yeah, London is blue this week. So, guys, thanks for listening to Boots, Balls and Bars. We'll be back next week. But, yeah, if you liked it, you know, click the like button or comment and subscribe below. So, thanks again, and we'll be back. Neat, big thank you to you, your croaky voice. You got yourself out of bed to make this happen. So, cool.
Hopefully everyone's like, spicy voice, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. Hopefully.
We will be.